I was 13 years old, Iraq had just invaded Kuwait, and U.S. and the coalition was headed over to the Persian Gulf to kick the Iraqis out of Kuwait. We were watching round-the-clock coverage on CNN. It was an exciting time.
Several companies decided to print Gulf War collector cards. The most popular, or at least the most common, were the 1991 Topps Desert Storm cards. Okay, so there's a few different sets that were also produced. One of them was these Desert Shield cards by Pacific. I never show Pacific cards on this channel. They're not really popular, so we're not talking about those. We're also not talking about the Pro Set Desert Storm cards. Those were pretty popular, not as popular as the Topps. And we're also not going to mix these up with the Topps Baseball Desert Shield cards. That's the cards with the logo and the stamp in the top corner. Those are the most valuable, of course, like by far. Those are distributed to troops while they were overseas in Saudi Arabia. We're talking about the Topps Desert Storm cards. They don't hold a lot of value. We're going to talk about these cards and the train wreck of errors on these cards. Join me down that error rabbit hole today. And guys, if you haven't already checked out my buddy Darren at Grunt Baseball, that's his YouTube channel for all things baseball. We got the playoffs here, World Series about to start. Not going the way I hoped. But check out his channel for all things baseball for the quick up-to-date information. Also his website, grunttalksmlb.com. Darren is also a veteran. Thank you for your service. I think he served over in the sandbox, just not during the Gulf War. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, hit that subscribe button. Let's get back into this.
So Topps released these cards in 3 different series: Coalition for Peace, Victory Series, and Homecoming Edition. Boxes contained 36 wax packs. There was 8 cards and 1 sticker in each pack. They sold for 50 cents. And there's only 264 cards in the complete set. Also 44 sticker cards. So it's kind of a smaller set, easier one for kids to collect and put together.
So Topps claimed these cards were educational, with proceeds of the sales benefiting the children of Persian Gulf War veterans. Topps commented on the series, stating it was neither frivolous nor opportunistic and wasn't meant to, quote-unquote, glamorize war. Topps insisted they provide educational information in a non-sensational way. Well, these cards are certainly not sensational, Topps. You did achieve that one. These cards' value haven't aged well. 35 years later, none of the cards are really worth anything. The cards are essentially worth the same as they were in 1991. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. They did not really go up in value. The Saddam Hussein card number 189, some buyers like to list it as his rookie card. They'll put rookie card in the title of the listing. This card seems to hold some value, selling raw for around $10. Graded copies can go for much more, even north of $100. These cards are criticized for a few reasons, mainly for inaccuracies. When you're making cards educational, you have a responsibility to provide correct information, at least most of the time. These have a lot of mistakes. Also, they are overly wordy when explaining basic facts as well as redundant information, superfluous words, etc. For example, ground combat infantrymen is listed on one of the cards. And this one's my favorite. Transport ships carry enormous weights. You think? Cards 1 through 88 were issued with brown Desert Storm letters on the front in their first printing. These can be easily found for cheap on eBay. In subsequent printings, they made the cards with yellow letters. They felt the yellow letters were easier to see. They also fixed a ton of errors in the process on those subsequent printings. Most of the errors were corrected. I'll go on the record to say that besides that Saddam rookie card, none of these cards are really worth much.
So let's go down the list. So card number 1, Commander-in-Chief, has a picture of George H.W. Bush on the front. This is an uncorrected error. It mentions 27 other NATO countries. Well, that's definitely not correct. There's only 16 members of NATO in 1991. That one was not corrected. Card number 3, Dick Cheney, kind of has a weird weird smile going on in this picture. It's kind of creepy. That's not the error. The error is that they says he is from Nebraska when in fact he is a congressman from Wyoming. That one was corrected.
Card number 7, General Charles Gabriel. Well, it shows him as the Air Force Chief of Staff. Well, he was obviously a real person, and that was his title, but he had already retired before 1991, so that was incorrect as it showed him as the current Air Force Chief of Staff. Topps saw that mistake, and they reissued card number 7 with the correct Air Force Chief of Staff, General Merrill A. McPeak. And card number 19, Britain's Tornado, kind of a funny one. There's a couple issues going on with this card. So it talks about how the jet will bomb enemy airfields, and it says to traitor enemy airfields when it should say to crater. They did come back and correct that with the word crater instead. There's a second issue going on, and you can probably look at it and see what's going on. On the front, it shows a Harrier instead of a Tornado. Very different jets. They did come back and correct that. Not the picture, but the caption, it will say Britain's Harrier. And card number 33, the Sentry, an E3A. Well, on the back, it calls it an EA-3B. I'm not sure what's going on. It looks like maybe their cat walked across the keyboard or something. I'm not sure how they misspelled that, but they did come back and correct that.
Card number 53, the Phoenix missile. Now, this was really funny. On the back, it says, range and accuracy varies from a few feet to several hundred miles. A few feet? Well, we're going to file that one under trivia. Not really an error, but definitely a strange card nonetheless.
So card number 55, Carrier Plane at Night. Well, that's not a carrier plane. It's showing an aircraft carrier, and it should read carrier ship. And they did come back and correct that. Card number 58, Destroyers. Well, those are not destroyers listed in the picture. I didn't personally know that by looking at it. Those are frigates, and they did come back and correct that as well with the word frigates.
So card number 63, Night Vision Goggles. Okay, so this is a time when the Russians had the night vision. They kind of made it popular, and the U.S. was definitely adding the night vision technology to their arsenal. So this card kind of pays tribute to night vision goggles. On the back, they make a really funny mistake. On the last words, it says during night vision. Well, it should be during night missions. They put the wrong word. They did come back and correct that one.
Card number 73, Machine Gunner. Okay, this is one of the weirder cards with 4 different variations total. I'll go through them real quick so you're not bored to tears. So on the front, you can find it with brown letters, and on the back, it will have 14 countries with spaces. You see, there's 2 spaces between those countries. I'm not sure why they did that, but the second variation is the same thing except with yellow letters on the front. So that's 14 countries listed with spaces. Version 3 is yellow letters on the front with 14 countries and no spaces. They just kind of filled them in. And then the fourth one is the yellow letters on the front with 16 countries and no spaces. So they added Bulgaria and France later. Don't know why. I'm not sure what they were drinking at the time. Card number 86, Sunset on the F-14. Showing the F-14 Tomcat on the front. Now on the back it says, Birth of the U.S. Army. So the error is that the back doesn't match the front, and that one was never corrected. Card number 88, Checklist of cards 1 through 88. So remember they had to correct the title of some of the cards. So instead of Gabriel on number 7 it has McPeak. Instead of the plane on 55, that's the carrier plane, they changed it to carrier ship. And instead of destroyers on card number 58, it says frigates for card number 58. So that was corrected on the subsequent checklist. So neither one of them considered an error. By definition, those are just variations. And card number 112, A7 Avenger. Now this is weird. It shows an A7 Corsair clearly on the card. There's no such plane as the Avenger. I'm not sure where they even got that word. There is a World War II plane called the Avenger. I certainly never heard of it. I had to Google that, but they just put Avenger on this card. That one was not corrected. Card number 121, U.S. Long Beach. So this is a weird one. So there is no corrected version of this card, but there's 2 things going on with it that they messed up. So the word Long Beach should be Long Beach, 2 words. They put it as 1 word on there, and that's a real ship. But the problem is the photo is not even of the USS Long Beach, it's of the USS Towers. Again, they did not correct those issues. Card number 128, Apache Attack Copter. I think that's weird how they put copter on there, but whatever. The mistake is that that's not an Apache at all. That's a CH-53. That's the wrong card. They did not correct it. Wrong helicopter. Card number 140, what is a tank? Well, I don't think Topps knows what a tank is because they put a photo of a soldier when it should be a tank. They did come back and correct that. Card number 142, unit size is B. Well, they put a cockpit as the picture when it should be 2 soldiers. They also did come back and correct that. 148, becoming a fighter pilot. So this is where they have them kind of swapped. The photo is of soldiers and it should be the picture of the pilot and cockpit. They also corrected that one. Number 157, General Schwarzkopf, Stormin Norman. So this one's interesting. There's a variation where you can get 2 different versions of this card, okay? One of them, he is very serious with his hat on, but the other one looks like he's telling a joke. He has no hat on and he's laughing hard. I'm not sure why they came back and reissued this. The one with the hat, it seems to be more common. I'm guessing that they reissued it because the one where he's laughing, they just didn't think it looked like professional, very fearsome. So they probably redid it with the hat. Whatever the case may be, neither one of them is an error. They're just variations. Card number 160, Lieutenant General Kelly. Now, this is a variation. You can get the back of the card where it will say General spelt out, or it'll just say General, like GEN, like abbreviated. I don't know why they had to change that. Neither one of them is an error, just 2 variations, and both of them are easy to find. This next one is pretty mysterious. Card number 186, King Fahd. So they misspelt his name on some of them where they put a T instead of a D. It's F-A-H-T. That one is got to be super rare. I've only seen one version of this here. So if you have any of these cards and you have the one with the T, it's probably worth quite a bit of money. Okay, card number 202, A-10 Thunderbolt. A-10 Tank Killer. Awesome plane. There's an error where they have a photo of the F-4G Wild Weasel, basically the F-4 Phantom. Obviously, that's not an A-10. They did come back and correct that. And I think here's the reason why. So 204, 2 cards later, it says F-4G Wild Weasel. Well, it has the A-10 Thunderbolt as the picture. So just kind of swapped them around. Both of those were corrected.
And 222, the M110 Howitzer. While it does not have the howitzer pictured on the front of it, it has the M1 tank. That one was actually never corrected. And that rounds out our list. Thanks for staying in there to the end. Leave some comments down below. Did you collect this set? Did I miss any errors? Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.